welcome back to the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I'm Colin.
I'm Craig.
Oh boy.
And I'm Daniel.
And we had the pleasure of seeing Zack Snyder's newest and hallowed movie. It's called Rebel Moon Part 1. Unfortunately, there's another part. Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. It is Zack Snyder's newest attempt at trying to create a movie universe. He tried that with Army of the Dead. Didn't work out too well, and now we have this, which it saw a limited theatrical release and was released on Netflix to universal disdain. It has been getting obliterated by every kind of review column out there. IMDb, as of now, I think it's almost been 2 weeks since it's been out as of this recording. IMDb has a 5.7 out of 10, pretty good. Rotten Tomatoes, it boasts a 24%, averaging a nice 4.2 out of 10 per rating. And Metacritic has a 31 out of 100. So Zack Snyder's universe is off to a great start. And with all of that being said, fellas, what did you think, Craig, of Rebel Moon?
Pretty bad. Like, at what point? Like, I feel like we're becoming. It's like what insane people do, doing the same thing over, like watching a Zack Snyder movie over and over again, expecting it to be good. It's never going to be
Well,
good.
I'm not expecting it to be good at this point.
But it's like people who expect different results. Like at this point, you gotta accept he's not going to make a good movie.
Right. Daniel, what did you think?
I really didn't like it.
Okay. Now, for the sake of clarity, Craig and I did talk about, as of this, when this recording comes out, we talked about Army of the Dead, and we didn't like that. And this makes Army of the Dead look competent. It is completely shocking. And I think that the most annoying thing about Zack Snyder is that he never fails to disappoint you in the sense that the movie's just boring. Like if it's bad and it's like not boring, at least like if it's like a Meg. I mean, the Meg was a little boring, but if it was just pure nonstop schlocky action, or inoffensible, I should say, whatever. But this is just—it's so boring. I feel like it's trying too hard to be its own thing, even though it heavily borrows from other movies. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that, borrowing and being inspired by other movies. But it just feels pathetic and it feels desperate.
I mean, geez, Colin, tell us how you really feel.
I didn't like it either. I kind of hated it. I was bored. I couldn't watch it in one sitting. I had to watch it in two sittings.
Well, so you watch them late at night, which doesn't help either.
Yeah, but like I could power through it most of the time. But this one is shorter than Army of the Dead. This is 135 minutes long, and it is still so boring.
And the worst part too is this is part one. There's another part coming out.
Yeah, okay, so let's get into it. Writing is a problem.
Well, Colin,
Oh.
should Craig give a brief synopsis?
Oh, yeah. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, of course. Craig,
Oh
give us a
God,
brief
I thought I
synopsis.
escaped this one. So I'm using the real names from the movie. The Imperium is this, by the name implies, an empire in space. They're bad because Imperium sounds mean. They are, I don't know, conquering planets or whatever. And this one girl on this farming planet gets attacked by very obvious bad guys. And do I really have to do this? Like, I can't even like make jokes about
Yes,
this. It's
yes,
so bad.
yes,
Uh,
keep going.
Yeah, this girl on her farming planet, they get attacked. She wants to save them because reasons. And she recruits people like Seven Samurai to defend the planet, and that's it. There's a lot of like
Yeah.
unnecessary stuff in the background for like backstories and stuff, but it doesn't really go anywhere.
So I think this movie suffers from not telling, or no, telling and not showing. They have so many flashbacks. It slows the pace down when you have to give so much backstory. And I know he's trying to build a universe, but in a sense, when you have so much information to give, you gotta take it in stride. I think that'd be a way better attempt at trying to explain everything instead of everybody sitting at a campfire and then they're just explaining and they're showing flashbacks.
Well,
Well,
if that didn't slow it down enough, too, the fight scenes with the excessive
Literally
amount of
slowed it
slow
down,
motion.
yeah.
I mean, I feel like comparing to Star Wars is very fair because obviously it was supposed this you don't know this was supposed to be in the Star Wars universe. And like the first Star Wars movie, like they don't dump tons of like lore on you. It's kind of like sprinkled in. Like
Yeah,
you hear
there's like
Obi-Wan talk about
breadcrumbs.
the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
That's it. Like you don't they don't like, have like this 5 minute scene of like a flashback in slow motion about their backstory, how they got there.
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
I was an old warrior. I fought in the Clone Wars. That's it.
You know what it felt like to me? It felt like each scene was from a different movie, and this was all strung together. Like
Hmm.
it just like it didn't seem like things were like organized or like they flowed at all. Like it was just like, especially like when you meet the team and everything, and like everyone has their own like scene. It's like it was taken from other movies, and this was just all thrown together um, like a collage on screen. That's what it felt like to me.
Just very generic. Like for supposed to be this new big sci-fi universe, there's nothing special about it.
You telling me, Craig, you didn't like the space Nazis?
Well, they already did that with episode 7.
I don't know if you guys couldn't tell, because the uniforms were so unique and subtle. So
Yeah, subtlety as a brick. But like, because this, like you said, this is supposed to be this new sci-fi property. But like, what's unique about it? Nothing. I mean, besides like copying a lot of stuff from Star Wars, it's just there's nothing special about it. Like, yeah, oh, it's like really gritty and just violent or whatever. Like, yeah, most sci-fi universes are. Like, there's nothing like Star Trek, Dune, Star Wars, like typical sci-fi universes. At least something unique about them. I mean, this like it's just forgettable. Like even the names are so generic, like the Imperium and the Mother World.
It feels
Like
like something from the Sci-Fi Channel.
it does, because like the names are just so generic. Like I don't know. It started taking me out. Like the Imperium. Like yeah.
So when I was watching it, I didn't know anybody's name besides Cora, 'cause she's the main character. Everybody is very forgettable. And mind you, I was half paying attention because I was so bored out of my mind. And can we talk about how just terrible Ray Fisher is? Cyborg is in this movie, and he's just such a bad actor. He is. I know, like, uh, DC kind of screwed him over and whatnot. And that's unfortunate, but he is just a terrible actor. I didn't know that was him until he started speaking because I could recognize that horrible, like, I don't even know how to
Voice he
describe it.
does.
Yeah, his serious kind of voice, but it sounds like he's trying to be serious. Like he's trying too hard. I don't know. It felt like a theater play that you'd see in a middle school. He's just not a good actor. He he was annoying me. And thank God he dies. Spoilers. So he's not in part 2.
well,
Uh
he was also his character was just a complete buffoon. Like, why would you go help this meaningless planet when you're trying to revolt against this empire that's so counterintuitive to trying to keep a revolution alive?
Yeah, especially if you're the leader. I mean,
Yeah, but like his sister was like, "Why are you going to help them?" He's like, if we don't stand with them, this is all meaningless." Like, no, if you don't keep your revolution alive, it's all meaningless. You don't sacrifice a valid movement against the Empire to go help some meaningless planet that if it got nuked, nothing would change.
well, see, that's what
yeah.
I'm thinking about part two. Because if you've seen the movie, they get their seven samurais to come back to defend the town.
Seven samurais.
Well, yeah, that's what
It's
they're
literally what a
they're
movie's
going.
called.
Yeah. Yeah, so they get their seven samurais to come back to the town, but like if this is supposed to be like, like a sci-fi, he's got these advanced spaceships, why don't they just like glass the planet from like outer space? Or glass the farm from outer space? That was the first thing I thought. Like, why are you getting these people to fight for you on like the land when from outer space they could just like bombard you and there's nothing you could do about it? Like, I feel like it's just gonna be very like, oh, what? There could be some like stupid excuse. Oh, we can't do it from outer space. Oh, it'll mess with the gravity. It won't be accurate. Something stupid about they have to land. But that was the first thing I thought of. Like, this seems like a meaningless plight that she's trying to get these people for.
See, well, I think already am gonna, with part two being as predictable as it's probably going to be, I think the movie should have probably flipped. This felt like this should have been a part two, and whatever part two is going to be, it probably should be part one. This entire movie should not have. They should not have gone off that planet. They should. They like she should have started like a movement on the planet. They fought them off the planet, and then they go and join, and then they go off the planet and fight the Empire. I think it was completely backwards.
No, I have two things to say. I think first off, this movie suffers from it knowing it's a two-parter. So they don't explain half the things that are going on, being like, "Oh, we'll explain it in the other movie." That's cheap. That makes the movie you're in or watching suffer. I think he should have just done one movie at a time. Maybe have a overarching story, but focus on one movie because it feels like you need the second part to figure out what's going on in this one, even though this is part one.
Because I saw some interview where he didn't want to release like a 3, 4 movie. Like, why do you keep making these 4-hour movies? Like, I don't get it.
So I was gonna say there's two more things I have to say. I did not understand what they were doing, killing that spider person. I didn't know what was going on.
Well, yeah. Well, that scene when they recruited that girl, I forget her
But I think
name.
the samurai
Does she even
girl,
have a name?
the samurai girl, her name is. Oh, I don't even know.
Because I think
Well,
even in the movie, I think they said they just called her like the warrior or the samurai. I don't think they even gave her a name.
they probably did, Craig, when the villain, about an hour, once he captures everyone, explains
Oh,
who
is it
everyone is and their
Nemesis, the cyborg,
importance.
Nemesis?
I can't
But
believe
they
that's a
met
generic
Nemesis
name.
before that, right?
Well,
They met her before, and then they just see the spider holding a child, and they just kill the spider. And I was like, what is happening?
I
well,
don't know what like
I was gonna say is that scene and the scene before when they got Tarzan. Those two scenes were just so useless and pointless. They contributed nothing to the story
Yeah,
at
that's why
all.
I had no idea what was going on with the spider person. They should have just cut that out. Because I think they didn't even really gain anything. I think they just saved a child the
yeah,
spider
just the people
person
we
was
don't
holding.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
who cares?
Well, and she was like, they're like dumping tons of exposition, like, oh, when you came to this planet, you murdered my children or something. It's like, what?
But that serves like nothing to the plot. Like, and the best is too is they do this drawn out scene where she fights the spider and for some reason doesn't introduce her lightsabers at the beginning of the fight. But and then the best part is they make it seem like she's this important character, and then she doesn't say anything for the rest of the movie. Like she had, I think she might have had like four lines in like the last scene, like when they got captured. She didn't talk for the rest of the movie. Like they
Yeah.
just introduced her, she kills a spider, and then she doesn't talk until after they break free from their capture.
I'm trying to remember. Did she actually say anything?
I have no idea. I was gonna say my other point was that this movie does what Episode 7 does, and it's that you introduce this big bad villain, and then he loses at the end of the movie. How is he supposed to be a threat if he loses to the main character? I hate when movies do that because then you can't take the guy seriously.
Like, he's already lost. He's not the underdog.
Yeah, it's like Star Wars did that with Kylo Ren. It was so baffling. I mean, Kylo Ren was even a bigger loser because he lost 3 times and died before he came back. But it's just like you have to imagine Thanos shows up, and you know what? Marvel did it because didn't they beat what's his face? Oh, Kang.
Loki?
They beat Kang in the
Oh.
movie, and then doesn't he get beaten in the Loki show? And then he's supposed to. I mean, now the guy's gonna get arrested. But before that, I think the plan was that he was going to be the main villain for the Avengers, but it's like this guy lost twice already. What sense
Well,
does that make?
Colin, it wasn't the same
Well
one. It
then,
was.
yeah. Well then he lost in real life, but that's neither here or there. But yeah, go back to my point. It just it makes him not a threat. Like he shows up, he's Mr. Bad Guy. He beats to death the leader of Korra's village with like a stick, and I
Well, that
think
was
he kills the wife too.
but when he hit her initially, he just like he hit him once, and I think that killed him. Like the one swing, I was like, that little
No,
stick
Craig,
killed
I
the
think
guy.
he was like wailing on his body. I think.
No, I think after that, I
Oh,
think he was just
oh.
like doing it to be brutal. But I think the first hit like killed him because everyone was shocked, and like he didn't get up and like I don't know. I think he killed him in the first swing, which I thought was odd.
So here's another thing I don't understand, and I know Daniel's a big fan of this. He was so excited to see this. Why did Korra wait until she did to fight the what are they called? The Imperium? So we find out that Korra is a former Imperial soldier herself, who is like one of the most highly decorated and most violent Imperium soldiers ever. We know this
Shoot,
because somebody
Gamora.
spewed that line in the movie. I think it was at the end. Her adoptive father is the main bad guy, like the Palpatine, if you
Did,
will.
Just
did
like Darth
he?
Vader.
Yeah,
No, I was also gonna say it seemed a lot very much was.
Belisarius.
I was also gonna say it was. Immediately was like, is this like is he really doing like Gamora and Thanos like per beat?
Well, my point is that what was I saying? Why'd you interrupt me?
But she waited as long as she
Oh yeah,
did.
okay, so yeah. Well, this also goes hand in hand with Zack Snyder's weird obsession with uh, people in vulnerable situations,
Women in vulnerable
women
situations.
in vulnerable situations, for what seems like to be his sick pleasure. There's no reason for this attempt of an act to be in the movie. It really serves no purpose, just like except just to, I guess, Zack Snyder live vicariously or something. I don't know what he's doing. It is so weird. It is,
It's a common theme in his movies, and like he
yeah. I
wanted
mean,
to include it in DC more. So
everybody knows the infamous quote he said about what he'd do if he had a Batman movie, and if Batman was in prison and involved him, dropping the soap and whatnot. But it's just like it does not belong in this. And then Korra kills everybody brutally. She like shoots a bunch of people and kills them
In slow motion,
in slow motion. And
excessive slow
it's just
motion.
like, well, why didn't she act up earlier? If she has this amount of skill, she could have killed what's his name? She could have killed Atticus. Atticus Noble's is the bad guy of the movie. She could have killed him when everyone was there.
Atticus Noble.
Yeah, I'm looking at
I forgot that's what
Wikipedia.
his name.
I don't
I
know the
forgot that's what
names.
his name was.
well, I want to mention that scene because when she killed everybody in that barn, you can clearly tell like what he cut out from the R-rated cut because an R-rated cut's coming because of course it is.
Yeah, I was gonna get to
And
that later, but
well, no, like when she put the guns like under people's mouths and shot them. Like as this cut, there wasn't like blood. People just kind of like their head went back. But you know, in the R-rated cut, it's gonna be like a
yeah, like
mountain of
heads
blood
and
and
yeah,
explosion.
it's gratuitous just to be gratuitous. Like I don't know. It just doesn't belong there. It's out of place.
Well, I
It's
wouldn't
like
say,
it's some 50-something-year-old man just living out some sick, weird. I don't even know what to call it. He just
I
likes
just,
ultra violence.
yeah. Well, I want to mention too, like the soldiers are like so over the top evil. It's comical. Because
Oh
I was,
yeah, yeah. They're like checking out that girl. They're like frothing from the mouth like a bunch of wild animals on a leash.
You know, you know, I was gonna say, ever like seeing the meme or the not the meme, but you've seen it countless times. It's the like construction workers catcalling the girl as she walks by. Like that was that just rated R and ultra violent.
I mean, like a million times worse.
Yeah.
But I wanted to mention too, because like I was like looking back at the original Star Wars and like obviously the stormtroopers were bad guys, but like it felt like these guys were just like doing a job. Like they weren't comically evil. Like every time they get a chance to like beat somebody or like, get the woman in the vulnerable situation, it felt realistic, even though they were the bad guys. Like, these bad guys are people. Like
Yeah,
they're not
they
just
were bad guys coldly doing a job. Here they're like wild animals. They're over the top. Like I said, they're frothing from the mouth.
And it makes you wonder too, like when they're so over the top evil, like how do they function as an empire? Like if you can't get these people under control to like even do like a very basic job manning an outpost, like how are we supposed to believe that they're like this galaxy spanning empire if they can't do like
Well,
something so simple?
because Atticus Noble keep him in check with his cane, crack him all over the head.
This pimp cane just whacking everybody.
So another thing that, again, this feels like we're not getting the complete story, even for a part one. They introduce Jimmy, the name of a robot,
That
Oh
was his
my
and
name?
god!
he's the last of a race of mechanical knights. It says.
I did not get that from the movie.
I think he said he was like the last of his kind. I think specifically in the movie they mentioned
Well,
that
they said
they don't fight anymore.
That's
well
what
they
I
said
remember.
their job was to protect the king, and after the king
Yeah,
was assassinated,
yeah.
they shut down. They stopped fighting. They
He
Oh,
shows up, has a scene with the girl who almost gets, with Zack Snyder's weird fantasy, and then he just disappears for the rest of the movie.
he appears at the end with like antlers.
Yeah.
Like, what happened?
Maybe he like skinned an animal and like started wearing its coat around.
yeah. See, like they developed all they kind of developed all these characters in the beginning, and they don't use them. Like these were the characters you should have like gone with.
Yeah, you
The
think
weird.
Flower Girl, because that's what she was. You'd
Mhm.
think she would have had a major part because they made it such a point to put her in very bad danger,
Yeah. And
and
then
then they do absolutely nothing with her.
she makes the connection with the robot
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, he failed in his job, so okay, you can give him a redemption arc. The girl, she now has a vendetta against the Imperium. Um, and then you could also, you have the guy who was
The village
trading.
elder? Oh
Well,
no,
all right,
never
he
mind.
can get killed. Whatever. I was talking about the guy that Cora has a thing with. I forget his name. He was
Oh,
there
I
in
don't know
charge
his name.
he was in charge of the agriculture. He was
Oh,
trading on the side.
Gunnar. Gunnar.
Yeah, you had him,
Sounds like a
and then
Skyrim character.
I thought they were going to use the one soldier, the one not bad soldier, the one who was sticking up for the girl.
Oh, the
I thought they
kid.
were going to use him. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
they just throw him away. Like Zack Snyder had potential characters to actually develop and throw this group together, and it would have felt actually natural for them to come together.
Well, he could have had
And
like
then
a
they,
Finn arc too, right? He could have been like, you know what? I see they're evil firsthand. And I definitely want to, you know, join your side and try to stop them because I don't
And isn't
want
that
ever.
also
yeah,
what Korra did? I mean, Korra's kind of doing the same thing,
Yeah,
kind
I
of even though
mean,
redundant.
but still, it actually feels like a character, and there's like now an
at
arc
least that's
for the
doing
there's
something with
motivation.
him. Yeah, there's doing
Yeah,
something
there's
with them.
motivation,
But guys, you're
and
missing
then
the
you
big thing. But there's a prequel comic coming out, so we can see all those
Oh,
guys,
shut
back.
up. So I don't. One thing I don't get about Korra, maybe they explained it. Did she leave willingly, and did she go in exile? Uh,
I think that's what was implied. Because I think after
okay,
what the princess died,
right. And how
I think
did Atticus
it's
not know who she was? Did he see him?
I think she was hiding in the background.
Oh, okay.
oh she might have been there. Yeah, because he briefly glanced, but like her face would have been so recognizable because there would have been a bounty for her because the emperor still clearly
The
wanted her
Emperor's
back.
daughter.
Yeah,
Well, no, again, they also said she's literally the most dangerous person in Imperium combat. Like, I think
100-pound woman.
whatever. I think you would know what she looks like. I don't know. That's just me.
like the Imperium clearly had a bounty out for her. They would have known, and they would have probably would have they would have been able to track her down with their with the oversized bad guy ships.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
yeah, but so they had a decent setup with these characters in the small village. They completely disregard them, and then we meet, and then it goes to that. So were they on the same planet when they went to that port city with that weird bar?
Yeah.
Okay,
He
yeah.
ended up
No,
shifting off the planet.
Yeah, and so yeah, another scene that Zack Snyder could protrude violence. That
But see,
weird alien grabbed a gunner.
yeah, very unnecessary. But I was gonna say too, that's what also doesn't make sense about like the Imperium coming to the small farming village. Like, how much food do they expect to get to feed their empire? I mean, you're getting one village on this very large planet. It wasn't like they, you know, ransomed the whole planet. It's just one village on the planet. Like you're telling me like what are you expecting to get from these people? Like I can't imagine. Like
I think
this doesn't make
you're
any
thinking too
sense.
much about it.
Well, it was like it's the first thing in the movie they introduce. It's the whole like what kickstarts the plot. Because like
And
usually, you know, like if you go through history, when you would, want people to pay you food, it would be not just one village, it would be multiple villages. Also, armies weren't, as big, but
well, then they meet Han Solo, who's played as his name is Kai. He's played by the Charlie Hunnam from Pacific Rim, and it's just like, again, Star Wars wasn't original with its inspiration, but at least if you're going to have influences, at least do something different with them. This movie doesn't do any of that. It's like the same kind of basic beats with more forgettable and dull performances, really.
I keep forgetting that that robot was Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
he was barely in the movie.
But he does the narration about the Imperium killing the
Yeah.
queen or the king of the mother world. And now they want to, or they are the mother world, whatever. They want to rule, the bad guys want to rule the mother world. Yes, I think so, right? That's all they want.
No, it was they. No, they just want to rule everything because the king got killed,
Yeah.
and then the emperor took over his spot. He was the regent. He's not even king.
Yeah,
Um,
Balisarius.
yeah, so he then became a dictator, and then they just became a tyrant, like a militarized empire,
But they said,
essentially.
but they said they were already like a militaristic empire before the king got killed. It's like nothing really
But
changed.
but this guy, I guess this guy was really going out of his way. I don't.
He changed the fashion statement of the Imperium, Craig.
Yeah, instead of wearing all white, we're now wearing all black, so we know we're bad guys. We're wearing white when we're good guys, but now we're wearing all black.
Wearing
But
something, I guess you could say, of the Axis power.
well, and the thing too, I thought, well, I knew it was a bad setup and I knew where it was going, but they when Han Solo comes in, like there wasn't even like a reason for him to help like at all. I know the real reason, happens, but like I immediately like there was like if Zack Snyder was really trying to like trick the audience, it was like clear as day. Because the guy he just is like he sees her just murder this entire bar and is like, yeah, I'll help you.
Well, what makes it worse is like right before he betrays them, he's saying like, "Well, I'm like this real bad criminal guy, but I'm gonna change my ways for you." It's like one, we don't know how bad you are because we literally just met you and we know nothing about you. And two, like I don't understand why you would throw everything away for this one woman. It's very little sus.
Yeah, and there was no monetary because at least if he was just like a straight thief and was just going to the highest like was just like actually like Han Solo where it's like, oh, you're gonna pay me to do this, and then as the story goes on he develops. But this guy was just like, you're not paying me. I immediately was like, why is this guy here? They're not paying him to do any of this, and he doesn't hate the Imperium because he's a thief, but no one's paying him. But
It,
then,
it was Zack
uh,
Snyder's way of pulling a 180 on people thinking he was just going to be like Han Solo.
But again, we don't know anything about him, and like with Han Solo, like I don't know, I get the structure of the story is different, but at least he was proved his worth in the end. Like he, left. Then he did the mission, left, and came back because he like he's a good person deep down, whatever, blah blah blah. But this guy, like we know nothing about. We spend like 2 seconds with him, and he betrays everybody.
And he gets killed by a thing that goes into your skull.
Oh yeah, like I don't know, it's like sedate people or whatever.
Yeah, it's like some kind of implant, I think. And they just like they stick it up his mouth or like from the bottom of his tongue. Like it's pretty brutal when he dies.
Very
So
violent.
so after they
Digimoon,
meet,
I was gonna say Digimoon Hansu, who plays Titus, the ripped guy in the movie. He is underused. The former
Total
general
underused.
of the Imperium.
also, why was
He's
he
the
not being
second.
like hunted down?
Well, that too. He's the second build actor, and he's barely in the movie. They don't get him until like three-fourths
He's
of the
the
movie's done.
isn't he the third? Isn't he the fourth guy they get on the team? If you're
Well,
counting Han Solo.
I thought he was like one of the last.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They met Han Solo, then they got Tarzan, and then they got Samurai Lady, and then Titus, right?
I don't know. I remember.
I'm trying to like.
Yeah,
I,
because
I
then
even
after they,
forgot the
because then
Tarzan
that,
guy was in the
because
movie because he didn't do anything.
yeah, he was just there to not have a shirt and just stand there. He was just there
Yeah,
to
he's the
ride a
last one.
griffin.
Yeah, because then they have to fight against Noble's dreadnought. They depart for somewhere, and then Noble arrives. It says and eradicates this planet's population because they assisted the rebels, just like Star Wars. And then that's when Charlie Hunnam, Kai, he tells Korra about all this stuff he's done, and then he betrays them. They kill him, and then they fight at the end, and Korra kills. Not even defeats. Korra kills Atticus Noble.
Can we? I do want to talk about the Tarzan scene because they go to this planet and he's just chained by this one guy, like it was like on this like desert planet, and they want to get him for I don't know. They don't really explain why they need him. It's not like see that. Well, that's another thing too. Is like none of these characters had like gimmicks or real reasons. It was just like, oh, I know this guy, I know this girl, I know him. Like at least Titus actually was like he was a general. He used to like he knew their strategies and stuff. Like, but they go to this planet and they make a bet with this guy who he owes a debt to for whatever reason. And the thing is the guy's like, oh, if he can tame this animal, just a griffin, you're he free to go, debt's cleared. But if he doesn't, you're all now like my slaves. And then they all just are like, okay. And they really were just gonna let this guy like really wager everything on the fact that this guy could tame this beast or not.
Yeah, like no discussion, no thoughts, no tensions. Like yeah, whatever, just go do it. I don't care. Yeah, whatever.
Well, and also too, the funny thing is with the Tarzan guy, it was like, dude, if you tame this beast, this thing could fly. Why would you come back?
Oh
Like
yeah,
you could
that
just
whole
taken the
scene. I
animal.
forgot that was in the movie.
He literally could have taken that animal and just gone,
I thought
just
they were going to
gone.
reuse that animal for the final battle.
Would have been pretty useful.
Yeah, he could have been like grabbing people and throwing them off a cliff. Again, there's lots of setup in this movie, lots and lots. You could argue too much, and they do absolutely nothing with it.
Yeah, but come, this is with
Yeah,
the spin-off material.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because he forms this connection with this animal that's caged like him, that's chained up. Okay, and then it's just like he leaves the animal, and the animal kills the guy that he was
yeah.
in
He
debt
like
to.
sinks his claws into that guy's chest.
Yeah, and then he just smiles and says, "Atta girl," and just they leave. Like, what was the point of that scene?
There was
Well,
no point. It was just filler.
well, I think it's also a very like childlike understanding of the world where like people are just either like good guys or bad guys. You can't just have a guy who's just like I don't know what the guy was doing, like owning animals. Like you can't just have like some normal guy who just so happens to have a slave and then like there's something like, the guy's not good or bad. He's like, yeah, this guy's in debt to me or whatever. And he's paying off his debt. Like, he's gotta be a good guy or a bad guy. It's like a very childlike view of the world, so that he's a bad guy, so he deserves to get punished and killed. Stuff like that just bothers me. Like it's
Not just
the
punished and
movie's written
killed
by
by
children.
punished and killed by a big flying creature with sharp
Yeah, I mean,
claws.
His,
yeah,
the,
maybe when they release his, prequel movie about all his backstory. Maybe he's actually a bad person, but from what we saw in the movie, he just seemed like a normal, I don't know, business owner.
They're probably in the
Yeah,
backstory make him like a rapist or something.
A rapist and a racist.
Yeah.
yeah. You didn't see what he was doing to the animal in the R cut.
Oh God. Can we talk about how at least this movie is visually better than Army of the Dead? Because at least this movie doesn't have the shallowest uh, depth of focus like how it was in Army of the
He's
Dead. Army of the
he
Dead
used an
was
actual standard industry camera.
no, he used an industry camera in the last movie, Craig. Don't no mistake about that.
I like see he bought
Everything was
like an
just
old
out of
one.
focus. Well, he used old lenses
Oh, okay. That's what it was.
because the cinematographer again. And I said last week that we all know Zack Snyder should not write his movies. Exhibit A for this one, he wrote the story and he wrote
Wait. Exhibit A. It's like Exhibit Z.
whatever. Yeah, yeah, true. He wrote the story and he co-wrote the screenplay. And I said during Army of Darkness, he should also not shoot his movies. Like he should not be the cinematographer because Army of Dead just looked terrible. It was out of focus. Did not look good.
You didn't
Uh,
you didn't like the Aliens remake?
no, this was a little better at least. I'm giving him some positive feedback. It wasn't Army of the Dead. It's just everything else is a giant disaster. At least it was in focus.
I feel like we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel when we're saying at least it was in focus.
I know it's one of the most basic things you have to do.
Because I mean, it's not like you could say, oh, maybe it was a, I don't know, like a mixed movie, had some good stuff, had some bad stuff. No, it just well, it was in focus.
Well, again, the biggest problem is that this is part one. Part one. And that's not even including, as Craig alluded to earlier, the rated R cut that's going to come out later. I don't know if the rated R cut is also going to be like the extended, where it'll
It
probably be like a
is.
3 hour cut, right?
It
It
is.
is. So we're going to have another 3 hour extended cut. And then we're going to have
So,
part two that's going to come out mid 2024. What are you going to say,
So
Craig?
we're gonna
so just imagine. So this movie is, yeah, 2 hours. Let's say the R-rated cut or the director's cut is 3 hours. Imagine the director's cut. There will be one for this part two. We have like a 6 hour movie. It's like, what are you doing, man? Like, who writes like these 4 hour, 6 hour movies? Like, have you ever heard of brevity? Like, at this point, make like a TV show. Like, don't be making a movie.
But not only that, why film a 6 hour movie and condense it to two?
It just sounds so
I
wasteful.
don't get it because you're not even being true to your original vision or whatever you're trying to say because you cut out so much.
That and like at least and his fans will always say because we're not fans, we think it's terrible regardless. But their fans will say, "Oh, watch the director's cut. The director's cut's better." But it's like, why does he keep having to like cut movies down from like 4 hours to 2 hours and like add stuff back in? Like it's one thing maybe just get overzealous for one project, like maybe like Lord of the Rings or like something like a huge adaptation. But like this is just like his own movie, his own world. He chooses to make these 4 hour movies, and I don't get it.
And the thing is, I'm curious to know what he did cut out because he had stuff in this movie that he could have cut out. So I'm curious to know what he did remove. Probably all the stuff in the beginning. I have a feeling in his director's cut, there's gonna be like the act one's gonna be like an hour long, where they're gonna introduce so much stuff and so much backstory. Probably told in a flashback.
And don't forget tons and tons of more gore.
Yeah. Again, I don't mind violence in movies, but here it feels like needless. And like he's just being violent to be violent.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's
Like
like his calling card.
if it was like violence over the top, where the movie's fun, that's different.
yeah.
Like the Suicide Squad, the newer one. The violence in that movie is over the top. Like a shark man rips a guy in half. But if Zack Snyder did it, it's so dark and depressing. You'd be like, oh my god, the poor guy in Zack Snyder's movie.
Well, again, difference between like a good writer director, not cinematographer, versus a bad writer director cinematographer.
Yeah, this is just trash. This movie's bad.
And again, it really leads to the
Oh,
question of like who keeps giving this guy money to make movies?
I think he has an exclusive deal with Netflix to churn these movies out, Craig.
But why?
I don't know. I can't imagine. I think this movie's in the top 10 of streaming categories for Netflix, but I can't imagine it's going to turn a profit. I don't know how Netflix works and how they make money. I know it's subscription based, right? But then there's watch hours, and I don't know how that all computes.
Well, probably I don't know, probably in the contract, or whatever.
But I can't imagine
hmm.
his movies, which are, I mean, this one isn't terribly expensive. It says its budget shared with part two is 166 million, so it's not the biggest budget for two movies, but I just can't imagine it's making like a whole lot.
I don't know.
And
I
then,
mean,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
kind out over there. Because to me, it's just I don't know. Like he's had such a horrible track record. Like I don't get why people just keep giving this man money. Like the DC movies, they might have made a profit, but they terribly underperformed.
I
We
think
made Sucker
Netflix
Punch.
honestly is just desperate for anything, for any kind of universe or project that is
I guess they're tired of
Netflix's
just
property.
Adam Sandler being their biggest name, pumping out UB Halloween.
I mean, we say that as a joke, but it's definitely the truth.
So this is who Netflix is like throwing all the money out. Adam Sandler and Zack Snyder. What a combo!
But at least Adam Sandler knows what he is. He's not pretending
Yeah,
to be anything, something he's not. Zack Snyder thinks he's like some philosophical
a
director,
tour.
yeah, auteur, and his movies just come across as angsty and desperate and pathetic in some regards. I don't know. I don't like his movies. I don't think there's a single movie I've seen of his that I like. I mean, I haven't seen Dawn of the Dead. I've seen parts of 300. I ain't gonna see Sucker Punch, I'll tell you that much. I've seen Man of Steel. Man of Steel isn't good. BVS, not good. The Snyder cut of Justice League is 4 hours long and is boring. And Army of the Dead's not good, so he has a terrible track record. And again, I think Craig and we talked about this. He seems like a really nice guy. Everyone wants to work with him. It's just a shame they want to work with somebody who has the passion and has the drive, but he just isn't good at what he does.
Yeah, very not good at what he does.
He keeps swinging away and he keeps missing horribly.
I really, I'm just like dumbfounded how like someone keeps getting. He must have like dirt on somebody because I don't understand how this man keeps getting like these huge projects. Because like I said, you just listed off his movies, like his filmography, and it's all terrible. I just I don't get why someone wants to keep giving this man. Well, it wasn't like I don't know. Like after how many failures does he need for people to stop giving him money?
Maybe a couple more.
I don't know. It's very weird.
Let's see how part two turns out before we close the book up.
Oh, shut up.
I mean, that is part of the problem too. Like it's part one, like you were saying before.
Well, and the thing too is like, and I know Colin, you said they killed the main bad guy in this one, but they brought him back at the end.
Well, yeah, just
They
like
intro
Kylo Ren.
they introduced the Emperor. Like you could have just been like, all right, this guy dies, bring in the Emperor for the second one, but you're bringing this guy back.
Yeah, it made no sense. And I think if you're gonna do a franchise, again, you should have a clear view of what you want to do, but you should really focus on and take it one movie at a time instead of being like, well, we'll explain this in part two, and this scene in part one will make so much more sense.
And then part two never comes out. You have like unfinished
Or,
basically universe.
well, yeah, if part two does come out, then like nothing makes sense. I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't make sense now.
I know that's why it's gonna be shocked if they make it even more, if they make it worse.
I did want to mention,
Yes.
so in most sci-fi movies, when people talk, long distance, like years away,
Hmm.
they usually just have basically like a video chat. It's like whatever we talk through video chat over space, no big deal. Like Star Trek does. I don't know what Dunk does, but I know what Star Trek does. Star Wars kind of the same thing. For this one, you have to be hooked up to a machine and enter the astral plane just to talk to somebody long distance. I mean, can't you just have like a video chat like everyone else? Like, don't be that special. I felt like weirdly convoluted for like something so simple. Like,
I don't know.
Well, Craig, he had to go through an extent, they had to over the top revive him. He had to go through a lot of pain.
Yeah, they stuck like tubes in him.
Well, that was another thing too. But like that one scene where the guy comes, his second in command comes to talk to him, to Atticus Noble, and he's like has those weird like he's just like injecting those tubes into his like spots, like it's like a drug, and then he goes over to like those weird tentacle things.
well, we'll
For
find
no,
out more about this in the sequel. Is he really human? Is he part machine?
He's 100% like part machine. We're talking about Atticus Noble, right?
Yeah, that's how he lost his humanity. He lost his part of his body, became more machine than man, just like Darth
Do you
Vader.
think he's gonna get redemption?
I don't think we'll get to that movie where he gets redemption. We're not going to get to it.
Hmm.
Also, I think he's so obviously an over-the-top bad guy. I don't think he's capable of redemption.
I think it'll be one of those things where they really try to force it, even though it's like Kylo Ren trying to redeem him, where he's blown up so many planets, killed billions and billions of lives. It's gonna feel forced, no pun intended, of trying to redeem this guy.
Well, that's why I always thought it was kind of odd when, Darth Vader gets redeemed, but like people want him, like if you read like what people think of him in like the extended universe or whatever, like they want to like this bloodthirsty murderer. It's like, well, it doesn't really work when you want to redeem him. Like I
Yeah,
get it, he looks cool, but like he was like murdering like millions of people. It doesn't really work because to redeem him, like you should be, reluctant, not very gung ho to murder people. That's why I'm not sure this guy will get redeemed. Like he's so over the
actually,
top.
I think he's gonna get killed by the Emperor because he's gonna have a chance to kill Korra, and the Emperor's gonna kill him to save her and try to plead with her to come back to the
That
mother
sounds more
world.
cliched. I believe that.
oh boy.
He's
I
gonna
mean,
hold him up over his head over a pit and then throw him down it.
While getting electrocuted.
well, so the guy is so clearly like a Nazi. Like there's no way they're going to like have him get redeemed. Like if you everyone dresses like a Nazi,
That's a
like
good
you're all
point. That's a good point.
like people are so stuck in like World War II that they can't think of anything else. They're stuck with like these are the ultimate bad guys in human history. We'll never be able to top it. So he's definitely not gonna get redeemed.
Do you think one of the royal family survived, like the princess or someone like secretly survived?
I can't even care to think about that, but probably.
Because they for some reason kept saying that she was gonna change everything, and then she gets killed.
I don't even know how they'd want her to change everything. Like
Well,
king
the
and
best
queen
is
are in
like,
charge. Like, what do you mean? Like,
and
what is she
and
gonna do? You're in charge.
and the king was leading this like bloodthirsty empire, and he's like turning to his daughter, and he's like, "You're gonna change. Things are gonna change with you." It's like, why don't you start a trend, and then she could pick it up where you left off?
Yeah, it's okay. It's all on you. It's all on you, my daughter. It's just so stupid.
What are your predictions for how the second one's gonna pan out?
Well, let me see Seven Samurai so I can tell you exactly how it's gonna end.
Well, it's
I've
gonna.
never seen
I
it.
know for a fact a couple of their members aren't gonna make it back. I think Titus is gonna die. I think the guy who was from the farm planet with Korra is gonna die.
No, I think he's gonna live because that's gonna be her love interest, the simple farmer boy.
Oh, okay. Just what it's my opinion, and it's what I think. And you're trying to interrupt me. That's okay.
Yeah, I am. You're wrong.
I think also Samurai
Wrong.
Girl, robot, whatever his name, Nemesis. I think she's gonna die too. I think Zack Snyder's gonna try to make it really tragic, where either everybody but one person dies or everybody but the robot dies. That's what I think. I feel like it's gonna be like literally everyone survives, or not everybody, but I think the robot Jimmy is gonna survive.
I think I think I think he's gonna die. I
Really?
think because Flower Girl's gonna come back, someone's gonna try to assault her again, and the robot's gonna. That's when he's gonna kick back into his like full mode, and then he's gonna get killed, like saving her, and then
But he
he'll say
showed to
some.
be pretty impervious to laser bullets.
But he didn't get hit by their. They haven't revealed their planet destroyer beam yet,
Oh, well, they did kind
so
of.
not yet. But there's a bigger, badder
Oh,
one
okay, my bad.
because the Emperor is yet to come in. The Regent has yet to come in,
Right. Okay.
Is he the
and
regent? I
then
mean, I thought he was just the dictator,
yeah.
emperor,
Well,
whatever.
technically, he's the Regent because he can't be the Emperor because he was not in the bloodline. So he's the Regent,
But they wiped out the
self-appointed.
bloodline. Well, maybe that you were saying there's someone survived and they'll come back.
Probably, probably. I think Tarzan's gonna live because they said he was royalty and he was doing something for his home planet, so he'll go back to there. Maybe reunite with the Griffin after it murdered that, the rest of the people on that planet. Nemesis has nothing to go back to, so she'll die. Titus will die in his redemption. They'll probably bring back the Revolution guy's sister just so she can die for the Revolution. Um,
Seems pretty
and
accurate to
then
me.
and then Cora. I think actually Cora will die too because she'll die and she'll be the inspiration for Flower Girl or whoever survived in the family bloodline to change things.
I think
Like
her and
she,
her dad will die together.
yeah, though, yeah, she'll kill him, but she'll be like mortally wounded or something like that. So, am I missing anyone else? And Gunner, he's gonna have to lead the the planet, the farmland, because he clearly was the reluctant leader. So,
Yeah, I agree. Any final thoughts on this movie? I don't really have much else to say.
Uh, just really bad. I mean,
Hmm.
if you're gonna rip off sci-fi, at least try to rip off better stuff.
Okay,
Make it more
Daniel.
interesting.
I really am not looking forward to part two.
But we're gonna cover it. Yeah, I thought this movie was really bad. It's boring, uninspired, trash. Don't watch it. Don't make don't make the mistake we made. So, with all that being said, we have been the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I am Colin.
I'm Craig.
And I'm Craig.
Okay.